have a pandemic or a problem, a social problem like this that affects people differently, you need to bring a lot of tools to the table in order to better understand it. And so I build basically laboratories, sort of computer laboratories, little computer worlds where you can simulate out different approaches, different policies to try to figure out what policy will be the most effective. So some things that you have to take into consideration when you build a model like this for COVID is you have to take seriously that, old people and young people, for instance, are affected very differently by the situation. We know that older people have higher mortality risk around COVID, while younger people, on the other hand, might not usually face as much risk of death or even severe illness. But if you're going to, say, do a government shutdown or a lockdown in order to contain the virus, many of these young people are affected in their labor prospects. There's also differences across income and education. We know there's big racial disparities in terms of the spread of COVID, in terms of people contracting COVID as well as deaths. There's a lot of reasons why that could be, but we think it's partly related to the types of work on average that a lot of minority workers work in relative to white workers. They're much more likely to be sort of on the front lines or in places of work that are high social interaction jobs. In order to think about how a particular policy will affect people, you got to take these differences seriously. So as the economist, I don't get to decide what the policy should be, what the optimal approach is. That's up, like you say, to policymakers to make that decision. But where I can be helpful is to make clear exactly what the different trade-offs are from different policies. So if a policymaker, for instance, is considering a lockdown kind of policy, it's helpful to know who's going to be hurt more by the lockdown and who's going to benefit, who's going to be saved more. That's how we help. We can think about different types of policies, what the outcomes are, and define the trade-offs and help a policymaker kind of strike the balance that they feel is appropriate.